Minutes, any corrections, additions, deletions? Trudy?
You know, the only thing I would add, since it was noted at the beginning of the minutes, do you have any further word on any of the
They were waiting to get their big bus plan done. Now we can arrange a meeting.
I thought we were gonna actually meet because it doesn't have any, are we gonna talk about the bus
Everybody
plan?
was so,
Are we gonna talk about the bus plan? It really has
We
nothing to do
absolutely
with what we
can.
wanted to meet about.
we
Okay,
absolutely
fine.
can.
Then I'm
It's part of my
asking,
report
I'll
anyway.
put it in under old business, new business, or what do you want to do?
There's plenty of places because it's going to pop up in lots of places.
Well, or maybe we can talk about it with the minute right now, because this is.
No, I think we need to get going.
Okay, fine.
Minutes, can we get approval?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
As read, as submitted.
Submitted, read, I read it even right
As
now.
written.
As written, there we go.
Yeah.
Seeing no opposition, we'll move right into the chair's report. Welcome to our April meeting. As always, it has been a very busy month for New York City Transit and the rest of the MTA actually, with continuing controversy over the ESI, Enhanced Station Initiative, and accessibility issues, as well as the release of the bus. It's actually written here as Bus Action Plan, but they've renamed it Bus Plan. I have attended many meetings on transit-related issues, and I'll detail much of this in my board report. But it's loud out there. You need to shut that
Yeah.
down.
What's going on in the other room?
Several other
Jewish
rooms.
American Heritage Gathering.
Okay.
The MTA has a lot of special
Oh.
Special events.
diversity.
As he gains more experience with the system, New York City Transit's new president, Andy Byford, is increasing his role as the public face of his agency. In fact, he's everywhere. And he has been well received by riders for his direct and positive, and I might add, sincere manner. Mr. Byford faces a difficult environment with tension increasing between the city and the state. There's nothing new there, which will only make his job more difficult. Just yesterday, Mayor de Blasio and Council Speaker Johnson sent MTA Chair Loda a highly critical letter focusing on the performance issues in the subways and demanding a high level of transparency and accountability to the city with regards to the subway action plan. And I believe that letter has been distributed to everybody. I didn't actually get one, but I think I saw it yesterday. Phil Eng, who has been the MTA's chief operating officer over the last year, has played a central role in the rollout and implementation of the subway action plan and has served as New York City Transit's acting president immediately prior to Mr. Byford's arrival. He began a new job last week when he assumed the presidency of the Long Island Railroad, succeeding Patrick Nowakowski. Mr. Nowakowski had been roundly criticized after the Long Island Railroad's worst performing year in 18 years and resigned abruptly shortly before Mr. Eng was named the new president. As I noted, sorry, somebody said?
Nothing, I said, ha
Oh,
intrigued.
yeah. As I noted, there has been a great deal of controversy about the Enhanced Station Initiative, and I was able to arrange for local residents to have a presentation on the ESI for 72nd, 86th, and 110th Street B and C stations, which my community board hosted at the Museum of Natural History last month. While presentations and opportunities to ask questions dispelled some misconceptions about the ESI program and the work to be done, those attending the meeting continued to be concerned by ESI work not including new elevators and the limited information on the program that has been provided to date. And signs have now gone up along Central Park West stations because next Tuesday, 72nd Street will be closing for its ESI treatment, and May 4th, 86th Street will be closing. So there will be a period of time when all three stops, 72nd, 86th, and 110th, will be out of service. There are also numerous GOs going on to prepare for this, and there is hardly a weekend that you can actually ride both uptown or downtown from Central Park West local stations. You have to back ride in one direction almost every weekend now, and that continues. These concerns were in evidence, I'm talking about the Enhanced Station Initiative, at a community meeting hosted by Assembly Member Linda Rosenthal, which addressed the ESI issues, but mostly the continued reduction of the M104 bus route. Hello, Ken.
All right.
What's happening to the 104 is exactly what I have been campaigning against for years. Reductions in bus service.
Oh,
Do you want to sit here? Is that how it is?
Yeah, whenever I'm.
Oh.
that's just for the members.
Oh,
Is it? We can do this right here.
Ellen, you can just move this chair around. What's happening to the 104 route is exactly what I've campaigning against for years. Reductions in, for one reason or another, the buses are not getting through, resulting in long delays. Counts are done, they decide there's fewer people riding, so they reduce the service, which means even fewer people are riding. It's a cycle of, I call it a cycle of death for the buses. Recently, I've had some interest from New York City Transit Management in my proposal to establish a demonstration bus route that shows how much rider support a well-functioning bus route would receive. And I'll go into a little more of this on the bus plan, but what we mean by that is DOT, NYPD, and transit making sure that there's no double parking, there's no deliveries along the route that frequently disrupt the bus. All of these things create congestion on a bus route, which results in much worse statistics, much worse performance, very much worse throughput. Thus, people leave it, they do counts again, and you know the story.
Ellen, speak up, please.
Well, that's part of the bus. I'm going to go into that. Yeah. As has been widely reported in the media, New York City Transit this week unveiled its bus plan, which President Byford has elevated as a priority since assuming office. This plan will dovetail with the subway action plan that is already in place, and the New York City Transit corporate plan, which will be released at the board meeting next month. The corporate plan will include an overall review of the agency and a modernization plan aimed at improving bus, paratransit, and subway service. President Byford has his hands really full now. New York City Transit operates the largest bus system in North America. We don't have to tell you that, and as a result, the bus plan includes a number of wide-ranging initiatives. I'll go into it now since I've just not repeated in my board report. The first of these is an ambitious commitment to review and redesign the entire route network, following in the path of what has been done on the Staten Island express bus network. As you know, many of the existing bus routes date to private bus or streetcar routes and have not evolved to accommodate the growth that has occurred in the city since the mid-20th century. In the case of the Staten Island express bus routes, as I'm sure Scott and others know, many of them come through various routes to Manhattan and then attempt to serve downtown and midtown, thus getting caught in the midtown and downtown congestion and making these buses not very reliable. So the new plan, amongst other things, including debut of New York City's first double-decker bus in many, many years, will be to serve one of those areas per route. It's either going to go to Lower Manhattan or it's going to go to Midtown Manhattan. Weekend express bus routes will continue to serve both because the feeling is congestion on the weekends is not nearly as bad as it is during the week. But for weekdays, you get on an express route and you're going to go downtown or you're going to go to Midtown. Midtown is likely via the Lincoln Tunnel, and downtown will be through the bridge and the Battery Tunnel. The new buses, the new double-decker pilot buses will fit through the Lincoln Tunnel. So that was a concern of many, and you don't have to worry about that. The plan also incorporates new monitoring and bus management technology and the new bus command center, which is nearing completion in East New York. What the heck is that? Is that you? Oh, everything okay? To better manage bunching and gaps in service and take advantage of new fare payment when that arrives largely in 2020, to allow all door boarding, which is something that many folks have been suggesting for a long time, including the Bus Turnaround Coalition. And it relies on a partnership with the city to make changes in surface streets, traffic signals, and procedures to raise bus speeds, including but not limited to transit priority for the buses, signal priority, so that when they arrive at an intersection, the bus will continue to get a green. I did ask what happens when it's two major bus routes and they're at an intersection, who gets the right of way? If it's a north-south route versus a crosstown route, largely the north-south route would get the right of way. But, you know, if they don't arrive at exactly the same time, it is not an issue. But I can see where they might.
It might happen.
Yeah, I can see where it could happen. The city will support the plan through the addition of bus lanes, increased enforcement against traffic violators, and queue jumping systems that allow buses to get ahead of other traffic at signalized intersections. Riders are to have more access to real-time bus displays at bus stops, onboard information screens, and enhanced online information resources that allow them to make the best choices in view of the service that is available. New rolling stock, including a continuing addition of all electric buses, reduction in the diesel fleet, which many folks are asking for. That one double-decker plan is also incorporated. There is something missing from here that's a major thing. Let me just see.
Enforcement.
Oh, there will be a new push, which I think we will support by writing our electeds. I know that other transit advocacy groups are going to support, which is more in camera placement on the front of buses and the ability to act if those vehicles are in violation multiple times. Fines finally result, if they're chronic, resulting with the loss of your registration. If the bus lanes are to work, enforcement is a key piece of that, and obviously front-facing cameras on the buses would be a big help to that.
And we're going to give the bus, can we ask about the bus report, or are we going to?
Yeah, actually, let me just see what I missed in that, because there are.
It wasn't enforcement was a big part of it.
Enforcement is a big part of it, but,
Have you heard anything about that at all, and where it is, and why it's stuck?
Well, I'm going to wait till he's through, and then I'm going to.
Go ahead, Trudy.
Is it okay?
It's okay, go ahead, while we're on that topic.
Oh, okay, so you're through with the bus?
For now.
Okay, the first thing is, and I was asked about this, why, since no offense to Staten Island, but since the double-decker bus is only an experimental, why the media focused on that? Every report talked about double-decker buses, new buses, and that's only a very small part of the whole plan. But why did they, of all things?
I can answer that.
Good, because.
The answer to that, and I've heard President Byford announce this, and it makes perfect sense, is double-deckers will need to be on express bus routes, primarily because the dwell time for somebody to come, go down the steps, and all of that would really add to the running time.
That's not my question.
Okay.
I understood because when on a couple of the reports they went into it, why they were double deck, and it was just going to be on Staten Island right now as an experiment to see how it works with loading, unloading, traffic, etc. But what I'm saying is since that was just a small part of everything that was announced, including the all loading buses, all-door boarding, and most people aren't even still familiar with that. Why they used as an example and only had a double-decker bus outside of here and nothing else.
Well,
They had 3 buses.
They had all electric buses too.
They had 3
They
buses.
had, well then.
3
day,
buses were
all
sitting
day.
outside.
2 electric and 1
And then they were out
double-decker.
again yesterday, weren't they? Weren't they there yesterday too?
Well, the way it was reported in the media, and it would have been nice if we had been told that maybe people, some of us would have liked to come down and look at these buses.
We can get a
also.
special viewing of those
No, but
vehicles.
it would have been. Okay.
It would have been,
But
but-
all I'm saying is that the media focus, and you know I follow all of this, especially not what's going on, but how it's reported. And all the focus was on the double-decker buses that were going to be going back the last time we had them 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. So little until you look through the fine print on what else was involved in the plan, including.
I mean, double-decker buses are a minuscule
I
portion.
know, but it was made like the focus of what was going on.
Because it was the
Sexy.
return of something.
New.
that-
It was a visual.
Yeah, it's a visual.
Yeah, but everything else, all I'm suggesting is that everything else was kind of lost in the, okay. So that's number one. Number two, these wonderful grandiose plans still have nothing to do with the day-to-day problems of buses, which will continue unless.
They do, Trudy. They do. As soon as NYPD, DOT make sure the streets are cleared for buses on several demonstration routes. Once they see that that can work, then you're going to see it widespread.
Andrew.
And Commissioner Trottenberg joined with President Byford.
It's the little things, that's what I'm talking about. And that's why I said we need a meeting with.
And we will have one.
Yeah, I know. That, how many months have I now been?
How many months has it taken for them to put this bus plan together?
Yeah, but this bus plan does not address the immediate, that's what I'm trying to say.
I got it.
Let me put it maybe so it'll go in the minutes
I got
correct this time.
Okay.
It does not address the immediate issues of day-to-day riders and why people are, when the bus pulls out and doesn't, the same thing over
I
and
know
over
what you
again.
mean.
Not, if there's a red light, not waiting in the bus, do I have to say it again?
No,
No.
because we
And
know.
these are the immediate issues which are causing ridership. People to stop using buses, not the overall branding plan. I would like that to be in the minute and once again go on record as requesting a meeting sooner rather than later, not with President Pfeiffer,
No, Darrell.
but with Darrell. And that could have happened at the same, or,
He's been a little.
okay, have you even requested or have you even put in a
Yes,
request?
and he said, as soon as I'm done with this.
Good, well, now it's done, so I would like a meeting
Trudy, we got it.
within the next month.
I will ask. And
I'm going on
I'm
record.
hopeful we will get it.
Because I'll say again, I can pick up a phone and call him, I want to do it through channels. I don't want to do it the wrong way, okay? So I am asking you again, and you can say that this request came from me, and I think Chris will second
You
me.
want to have this meeting?
As soon as,
Then I won't say it came from you, okay?
very much. No, I have to do it. And the other thing that,
Not at all.
from your report is that, yes, President Biden has now made it. I don't know if he was in a circle or the dress rehearsal.
I heard it.
But he was a character. In his character, he had a whole piece in the inner circle. And when you're in the inner circle, it means you have made it, you have
Well,
arrived.
he faced over 100 angry people at Assemblymember Rosenthal's town hall forum at Rutgers Church, and he was really good. And by the end of the evening, people left with a lot of hope.
Yeah, and that's my next thing, which is how come it was on the west side and there's nothing similar going to be held on the east side?
Very simple. Assemblymember Rosenthal serves the west side.
I know, but the meeting has been.
If you're Assemblymember.
No, I will,
And also, Trudy, because the 104 has been so, and just got cut again this April.
Andrew, there are just as many problems with the SBS that isn't an SBS, or the 15, the stops on the 15, the 101, 2, and 3, which don't run as 1, 2, and 3,
Yeah.
or any kind of.
We know the
So,
issue.
but can I make the request on behalf of all of the elected officials on the east side to have that, and I will work with them and you and Byford in setting it up. Because I got a number of calls after your meeting was publicized.
Can I add something? Hello, my name's Vincent, for those who don't know me. I just have a question for you in regards to the,
You'll be able to continue.
how many advocates are there involved for the disability rights who are deaf people? Where's our voice, and as far as our bus concerned? Is there any relation with accessibility in the deaf community when we talk about those issues later?
So Carol,
I think you have to.
I need to fix this.
Maybe if you
So-
turn it might be a little easier.
Slow, please.
So President Byford has 4 major initiatives, and one of them is improving accessibility. And he pulled together a group, last week I think it was.
Yes, last week.
And it included people from many different areas of the disability community. And so that was
All
the-
types of disabilities.
all types of, that was the broadest group yet, having been brought together. And so if there are some other categories to be brought in, I'm not sure.
We have,
So that it is definitely,
It is not forgotten,
it's
for
not-
sure.
And
no,
it's gonna
it's
be-
actually on the front burner for the first time.
Carol, you want to add something?
Yeah, Carol.
Yeah, just that,
Carol is gonna speak to it also, because she's been involved actively.
it's, as Ellen said, his 4 initiatives, bus stuff, subway stuff, accessibility, and I always forget the 4th.
Improving the internal staff, so
Right,
communication
right, communication,
externally
right.
improves.
And,
Communication.
and this is all part of his corporate plan that will be developed and presented next month, but accessibility is absolutely, as it was when he was in Toronto, President Byford's one of his main initiatives, and he will continue to meet. It's not just about making the subways accessible with elevators, it's across the board, and
The
people.
breadth of accessibility.
Right, I mean, from communication to signage to everything, so, I mean, that's not an answer in that, but it's a work,
Yeah,
very
because
much a work in
I
progress.
hear from the deaf community's perspective and their frustrations with the captioning, and if there's an emergency, a lot of people don't have.
Those are
access.
those are all issues that have been raised and will be
Can I-
addressed.
can I add to that Chris Greif, who is
Right.
here, who is here, Edith Prentice, who is up in Albany, and I are all members of, all belong to the 504 Club. We all represent different parts of the disability community, as well as representing our particular boroughs or elected officials, so that the voice of the disability community has been heard here.
Louder than ever, I would say.
Louder than ever, and just at this group, at the Citizens Advisory, Transit Riders Council of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee, so that there is representation, and I don't know if you want to add.
I think one thing just to make sure, we should make sure the hearing disability community is in that group, because right now, I'm thinking about it, I'm not 100% sure that
Exactly.
is the case.
Exactly.
No, I mean, there was
Still
somebody.
Forget about
That is the
deafness
case.
being a disability.
So,
May I
Chris,
add one
or-
thing, because I have been mentioning this for the last few months to them, saying if they want to attend the TRC meeting, they should RSVP in, and you and I discussed this on the phone, Ellie, on the phone. I have been telling them, if you want to attend this meeting or the CCC, which is the ADA compliance meetings, you know.
well, I think we can bring it to the attention of New York City Transit, so-
Absolutely.
I was
I
just
think
gonna-
that's what the next step would be, for our voice to
Yes,
make
I
sure.
agree.
But let's make it clear that all people with any kinds of disabilities or other, or as Mayor Jenkins, who I saw the other night, calls it, people with other abilities and other other means that they need
Fiscally.
are all represented and are more than welcome to all of our meetings
Absolutely.
and all of the meetings of the MTA. All of the different committees and everything are open to everyone.
I think Andy is making a special effort, I think, to be inclusive of all the communities and make sure that he is finding who all.
Exactly.
Well, and, well,
Deborah
Hall.
Hallmark.
I just want to say that President Byford is making a concerted effort, as you've said, to reach out to the disability community. He's going to be having regular meetings. At this point, the
Deborah,
discussion.
can we just, Deborah works for New York City Transit. Deborah. So, sorry, you want to
You understand? I'll project my voice.
Okay.
We're speaking about 4 times a year, meeting with the disability community. We've reached out widely, and if you have suggestions for organizations that represent the hearing disabled, please submit them to us. We've got Ken Stewart that we talk with on a regular basis, but there are, well, not Ken, excuse me, but there are other organizations that we did invite to that meeting. But he's open, he wants to cover every aspect of disability in those meetings. And in addition, he's going to be bringing on a disability coordinator, system-wide.
accessibility coordinator.
Accessibility coordinator that
I
will
was
report
just gonna
directly
say,
to
yeah.
him. And that person will report directly to him, so quite a bit,
So
there's quite a
that's-
bit of movement.
Right.
And all of that has never happened before.
Absolutely.
This is very new.
And I can vouch on it too, because I definitely agree with Carol, and Deborah as well.
Well,
This
if
is
you
some-
agree with them, it must be true then.
No, it's true, but I'm glad to see that Andrew Byford has been doing a lot of good things.
No, he
But
has.
it's also good to see him here, but we also got to make sure we count every person.
He's-
Do you know who recognized the disability community first? Like, who was responsible for like bringing this up and mentioning it in meetings?
This has been going on
Many different
for,
groups.
since we started making buses and state, not enough, but going back into the 1980s. Where we had, and we also had, we started a program of half fare for people with disabilities, both physical and
Yeah.
other kinds. And so that this has been going back for, the 30 years or
We've been,
more.
Ken has been instrumental in bringing up what visually challenged
This is
people
Ken.
need in signage so that it's easier to read. Some of the bus stops have audio at them to let you know how far away the bus is and what bus is arriving. So we are moving in the right direction. It's a gigantic system, it will take time, but everybody's heart is in the right place, I believe. And
Second the motion.
Oh, no, this,
I think it's gonna happen.
Carol has it.
I think we should focus on moving forward and the things that are starting to happen. And if you want to give your name and your organization to Deborah, then to make sure that you get put on a list, that would be an excellent way to get started. But, to talk about what's gone on, that's not going to accomplish anything. I think what's important is that he is totally onto this, and he's ridden the system with some disabled community members, and so
And his
It's-
track record is great in Toronto,
right,
among other
exactly.
places.
So I think that's what we need to focus on.
Unfortunately, the other day, you were a lot safer if you were riding the Yonge Street subway than if you were walking along Yonge Street. What a
Yes.
horror.
Yes, we should make all those incidents, like what they're doing in Canada, we need to do here for sure.
Well, we have the right guy.
Yes. So let's move on. I think
okay,
we've,
now, I just.
yes, finish, Trudy, because we really do have a lot to do.
I know, okay, well, whatever. What I was just saying is putting in the request, and it is even more important now that the bus plan has been announced, because now people are saying, great, we're gonna get all these things by 2020, by 2024, we're gonna put in all these things that we've been asking for, but the little nitty-gritty day-to-day problems, there was no mention of them.
Let me just correct one thing you just said. While all-door boarding will have to wait for the new fare payment system, which will largely be here in 2020. The clearing of streets and doing and re-evaluating all routes for changes in population or what have you does not wait that long.
But the big question with that and the clearing of streets and having three SBS bus within walking distance, the Second Avenue with the M15 and having both the M86 and the M79, and now there is special routes, everything is parked, there is no enforcement at all, and people say, great, so they made a special lane, they made even a little bicycle lane, everybody goes where they want, and there is no enforcement at all. And the big question, and you may want to pass it on, is enforcement.
So here's just a little hopeful off the presses from Andy just now. He said, as I said when I announced our bus plan, we need full cooperation from NYPD and DOT to keep them in place. I'm already having positive discussions with both. I think the last few days has actually been mobilizing so many different groups that discussion making it possible to get the NYPD.
Did you just email him or something?
He's having a Twitter-a-thon right now.
He does it monthly, he does this.
So he's doing it on buses, right? A
Yeah,
Twitter
well, that's
chat.
why it's
Sorry.
coming up on the Twitter because everybody is saying
Okay.
that same thing, enforcement, there's one word.
It sounds like there's some,
Let's move on because we're not going to get to things.
Okay, that's it.
The MTA and New York City Transit are soliciting public input and support for results of the planning effort. In particular, MTA is seeking support for the addition of cameras to enforce bus lanes, which we know is going to get to Albany. Whether they'll approve it or not is another matter. New York City Transit is also, as Ellen just said, scheduling outreach activities such as the Twitter chat with Andy Byford and Darrell Irick using the @NYCT bus handle and Ask NYCT hashtag that's occurring as we meet today. Although we're otherwise engaged now, it's easy to view the chat later by searching for tweets bearing the @NYCT bus handle. Today's Twitter chat is the second in a series of monthly events, right? President Byford and Chief Customer Officer Sarah Meyer kicked off the series on March 29th with a chat focused on subways, generally to very good reviews. Also a part of the New York City Transit planning effort, planning work, are efforts to fulfill President Byford's commitment. This is key, to examine the feasibility of making each subway station accessible through a study that is currently underway. Ellen and Carol attended a meeting with President Byford about it, as I did, about accessibility elements of his plan, which was billed as a listening session to get the input of those interested in increasing accessibility. At the meeting, Mr. Byford announced that New York City Transit will be hiring a senior advisor for system-wide accessibility who will report directly to the President, which is a first for New York City Transit. Prior to all this, accessibility issues were handled by the Office of ADA Compliance within the Department of Capital Program Management. But there are some good news coming right out.